Discover the incredible moment she confronted a millionaire and his mother wanted her as family. Emma stood at the edge of the charity gathering, surrounded by laughter and clinking glasses, the glitzy scene contrasting sharply with her worn nursing scrubs. She felt out of place, weighted down by unrelenting bills and the harsh reality of her daily life. The truth weighed on her like a stone. Her mother needed care, and the demands of nursing were exhausting enough without the burden of financial distress. Despite her dreams of starting a community healthcare program to help families like hers, hope seemed to slip further away with every passing day. Every penny in her pocket felt painfully trivial. Her heart tensed as she caught sight of Julian across the room, the handsome entrepreneur, effortlessly charming and seemingly untouched by the struggles of the world she navigated. The flush of envy flickered but was quickly doused by anger. What could this millionaire possibly understand about her life? As he flashed that winning smile, a knot twisted within her. His world felt like a cosmic distance away, and yet here they were, sharing the same air. Conversation erupted around her, when suddenly Julian approached, casually throwing out a question about healthcare disparities. Sparks ignited into a fierce debate, and she couldn't hold back. She laid bare the painful truths of struggling families. She took a breath, her insides twisting into knots. You think your money can fix everything, don't you? But what about the families left behind because they can't afford care? It's not just about giving. It's about understanding. To her surprise, Julian's expression shifted from amusement to contemplation. A flicker of respect crossed his eyes, and for a moment, the walls between them seemed to dissolve. But as thoughts of connection wove into the fabric of her challenge, Emma felt a swell of fear rising within her. What if this was just another distraction from her harrowing reality? Could this be a chance at change or merely another reminder of her place in a broken system? Before she could unravel those thoughts, Julian's mother stepped into the picture. The icy matriarch, with her unyielding expectations, surveyed Emma like she was an uninvited guest. The tension in the room thickened like fog, swirling around them, as Julian's mother quickly categorized Emma as an unsuitable match. How quaint, she sneered, her voice dripping with condescension. Emma felt herself shrink in the face of such confidence but refused to falter. She clenched her fists, determination swelling within her anew. The chaos erupted into an internal struggle that crept up on Julian too. Torn between family loyalty and their undeniable chemistry, he hesitated. Emma's steadfastness ignited something within him. But what if his family was right? What if she was nothing more than an accident waiting to happen, pulling him towards the same despair she felt? The weight of expectation pressed down, as Emma's anger gave way to raw desperation. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the night waned and the stakes grew heavier, both felt the tension crackling in the air, thick with unspoken possibilities. Emma's heart raced as she poured out her truth. She was determined to fight for her dreams, no matter what lay ahead. Julian's silence spoke volumes, leaving her torn between the chance for change and the possibility of heartbreak, their worlds colliding yet again. Would he summon the strength to stand beside her, against the world that sought to keep them apart? Or would the weight of his expectations drown her hope? As they locked eyes, the undeniable truth simmered: this was only the beginning, and the future loomed uncertain. Emma's thoughts spiraled as she stumbled through the facade of polite conversation surrounding her. The rhythmic clink of glasses deafened her. Laughter became a distant echo while her memories of necessity grounded her. She had fought tooth and nail to exist in this neighborhood of privilege, and her heart bore the scars left by the past. This gathering was a stark reminder of everything she craved yet felt eternally barred from. Lost in muddled thoughts, she felt Julian's presence beside her, not imposing but warm enough to awaken her resolve. The flicker of vulnerability in his eyes ignited a spark she hadn't anticipated. She focused, wrestling with the sharp edges of her reality. Julian was so unlike anyone she had encountered, a blend of charisma and depth that intrigued her yet intimidated her. What do you really want, Emma? His voice broke through the clamor as he leaned closer, curiosity lacing each word. There was no mocking tone, just a genuine inquiry. It knocked the wind from her lungs, challenging her to strip away the layers of deflection she had so carefully wrapped around herself. The question hung suspended as she hesitated, considering her dreams that often felt like mere whims. She needed to reclaim her voice not just for herself, but for every person refusing to be swallowed by their circumstances. If she couldn't articulate her vision, how could she possibly turn it into reality? "I want to start a program for families that can't afford basic health care," she stated, her voice steady yet edged with fervor. "I want to create a system that supports them, not just financially but emotionally. It's about compassion, real compassion." A spark ignited in Julian's gaze. "That sounds revolutionary," he admitted, though his brows knitted together in thought. "Have you considered how to fund it? I mean, if it's not just a pipe dream?" The question jolted her. "Funds. The ever-elusive lifeline. I've been looking into grants and local support systems," she replied, her mind racing. The reality of how easily dreams could be undermined felt too close to home. "But honestly, I don't know if it's enough." His expression shifted, a new determination glimmering in the depths of his eyes. "What if I help you? Not just financially." Emma's heart stuttered at his proposition. "Why would you want to do that?" "Because it matters. You matter," he responded, raw honesty flickering between them. Each syllable seemed to crack the sturdy walls around her heart she had built over the years. But with doubt clawing at her insides, she questioned whether she could allow herself to believe in such an improbable alliance. Julian's mother had cast a long shadow, but Emma's desire to move forward felt like a tide waiting to crest. She knew she had a choice, to cling to the familiar burdens or to embrace the unknown that Julian represented. She'd always been fiercely independent, but perhaps allowing someone in would not signify weakness. Could it be a gateway to strength? An unfamiliar warmth washed over her as she contemplated the idea, both terrifying and exhilarating. She saw a glimpse of her truth shimmering in Julian's expression, admiration dawning alongside empathy. As the night crept deeper, so did her resolve. "Let us explore the possibilities together, but no strings attached. I need to know this is about the work, not us." He smiled, the weight of understanding deepening their connection. But beneath their exchange lay another layer, echoing the unasked questions. Was Julian truly ready to commit to something that could challenge his world, just as she had? Emma stood, tethered between caution and the thirst for potential. They were on the precipice of something monumental, or perhaps disastrous. The atmosphere shifted, holding its breath. Was she ready for this leap? Would they emerge stronger together or unravel under the weight of their realities? The tension between them grew thick, a palpable force igniting the space as new possibilities unfurled before her. What would be the next step? And what hidden truths about her own capabilities awaited to be unearthed? Emma awoke the next morning with the clarity of her intention ringing louder than the chaos of last night's uncertainties. The retreat into the realm of the ideal had ignited a flicker of hope within her that she had almost extinguished. Julian's proposition echoed in her mind, an unexpected alliance that suddenly felt like a lifeline. Yet, that morning she found herself staring at the blank walls of her small apartment, the gravity of her aspirations colliding with the stark reality of her situation. She spent her coffee-fueled hours hunched over a laptop. The screen glowed back at her with the harshness of an unsolved puzzle. Grants, local partnerships, and nonprofit frameworks sprawled across her mental map like scattered pieces without a clear picture. Each search led her deeper into the labyrinth of bureaucracy that could either hold her dreams hostage or serve as a staircase to ascend. The more she read, the more her initial excitement dimmed. Complicated application forms and extensive requirements chipped away at her enthusiasm. What if she wasn't cut out for this? What if her past was too tangled to forge a path in a world that seemed set against her? Those questions gnawed at her, forcing her to confront the voice of self-doubt that had whispered through every significant moment of her life. Determined to shake off the weight of uncertainty, Emma decided to create a list, action items that could breathe life into her dream. Perhaps the first step lay not in the grant applications, but rather in understanding the needs of families that could benefit from a healthcare program. She could interview community members. She could visit local churches and social services to gather stories and insights. With purpose coursing through her veins, Emma grabbed her notebook and left her apartment, a hesitant smile breaking the facade of worry that had settled overnight. Outside, the crisp air offered a refreshing jolt, invigorating her spirit. Today was not just about networking, it was about connection. Her first stop was a nearby community center bustling with families. The laughter of children echoed amidst the sounds of muted conversations, a symphony of hopes and struggles. Emma approached a group of mothers engaged in a support meeting. Stepping inside to unleash her intention felt monumental. She was no longer an outsider. She was on a mission with a vision. "Hi, I'm Emma. I hope I'm not intruding," she said, her voice wavering but earnest. The warmth in their eyes brought her comfort and resolve as she shared her dream of helping families access healthcare. The responses were mixed but honest. Interest flared, questions rose, and some expressed skepticism. Emma welcomed it all. Each voice was a breadcrumb leading her closer to understanding the broader landscape of need. As she jotted down anecdotes, she felt alive with purpose. Their struggles mirrored her past, the hurt, the longing for genuine support. She was no longer on the periphery. She was at the core of a community yearning for change. But within this surge of realization also lurked the shadows of doubt. The conversations revealed how deeply entrenched the problems were. Could she truly make a difference? They spoke of previous programs that had failed. Could she bear the burden of their hopes, only to falter? When she returned home, the weight of the day settled on her shoulders. Each experience stirred within her a dual sense of empowerment and fear. She knew she had to face these challenges head-on, but lingering apprehension threatened her newfound resolve. Just then a message lit up her phone. Julian wanted to meet. His words danced off the screen, urging her to discuss strategies and timelines. The promise of his support fueled fresh determination. What would she say when they sat together? Would her voice carry the weight of their collective dreams or tremble under the scope of potential failure? As she mentally rehearsed, doubt crept in once more. Emma's heart raced. She was at a crucial junction. It wasn't just about what she wanted anymore, it was about the families whose hopes were intertwined with her own ambition. How would she articulate the complexity of her vision, and could she embrace the vulnerability that came with it? Tomorrow's meeting would be more than a discussion, it would be a test of her commitment to a calling larger than herself. And if Julian's involvement revealed flaws in her plan, could she confront that criticism without retreating into despair? As the sun dipped below the horizon, Emma faced the shadowy uncertainty ahead. She felt the stirrings of determination, but the looming confrontation with her aspirations made her pulse quicken. What step would she take when it was time to face not only Julian but also her own reflections? Emma stood in front of her bathroom mirror, the early morning light streaming in, illuminating both her reflection and the uncertainty swirling in her mind. She practiced her speech, her heart thumping against her ribs with each rehearsal. The vision she carried felt precious and fragile, and she feared that if she didn't articulate it perfectly, it could shatter before it even had a chance to take flight. "Focus on the families," she murmured to herself. "This isn't about you. It's about them." The words felt sincere, imbued with the weight of her interactions from the previous day. Yet the question remained. Could she convey their struggles effectively enough to inspire action? As the clock ticked toward their meeting time, her nerves transformed into a low-grade anxiety that nestled in her stomach. Emma grabbed her notebook filled with insights and stories she'd gathered. Each page brimmed with raw emotion, a tapestry of aspirations interwoven with deep-seated fears and hard truths. It was time to harness that potential. The cafe where she was meeting Julian offered a vibrant atmosphere, bustling with animated conversations and the aroma of fresh coffee that enveloped her like a warm hug. She selected a seat by the window, her chosen spot giving her both visibility and a retreat from the chaos around her. She took a deep breath, grounding herself in the moment, as she attempted to visualize the path that lay ahead. Julian arrived shortly after, his presence commanding yet inherently approachable. A casual wave and an easy smile replaced the usual business formalities, as though he too recognized the importance of this meeting. The dynamic felt different from her past experiences. This wasn't about transactions. It was about transformation. "Good to see you, Emma," he said, sitting down and leaning forward with a genuine interest that immediately quelled some of her anxiety. "I've been thinking a lot since we last spoke." His openness made her heart race. She could sense that her ideas had sparked something within him. Could she rise to this moment? Thank you for meeting me. Her voice was steadier than she felt. I've gathered some insights from families in the community about what they need. It's more complex than I initially thought. Emma launched into the findings, her heart swelling with purpose as she outlined the challenges they faced. She described the deep-rooted struggles for access to health care, the pressures of financial constraints, and the emotional toll they endured. Each anecdote held weight, not just as a statistic but as a real life, a pulse that throbbed in her mind. Julian listened intently, his brow furrowing at the dire reality she relayed. She could see him processing the information, contemplating it deeply rather than dismissing it as logistical noise. But there was a flicker of misalignment between them. Her enthusiasm contrasted sharply with the skepticism written on his face. Emma, he began, selecting his words with care. You're passionate and that's incredible. But these problems, there's a reason others have struggled before you. Accessing funding for initiatives like this usually requires a track record, credentials. Have you thought about building a team? This is a difficult road to navigate by yourself. Her heart sank at first, the thought of being deemed inadequate creeping in again. But then something sparked within her, a flicker of something resilient. You're right, she said, cutting through the self-doubt. But I also believe that genuine connection could bridge that gap. When people see that someone really cares, they're more inclined to invest. An isn't that worth pursuing? Julian leaned back, curiosity replacing caution in his expression. You may have a point about grassroots initiatives. Perhaps it'll resonate on a different level. There it was, a crack in the wall. If she could keep him engaged, she could turn that flicker into a blaze. As they dug deeper into the ideas, Emma felt the dynamic shift. She showcased her innovative angles, leveraging social media to gather stories, engaging community leaders, and creating community health events to spark interest. The conversation flowed more freely, and excitement bubbled up as they brainstormed. Yet, as she passionately articulated her vision, doubt lingered. Would Julian's support be enough to make up for her lack of experience? How much trust could she place in proprietary knowledge versus the authenticity of her interactions? Just as they were wrapping up their session, Julian's phone buzzed, slicing through the burgeoning camaraderie. His expression shifted as he glanced at the screen. Information poured in, drawing him momentarily away from their dialogue. Emma caught a glimpse of the notifications, emails coming from influential business figures alluding to something significant. What's up? She asked, curiosity propelling her forward. But Julian hesitated, weighing his answer. Just some interesting opportunities I'm exploring, he replied, a note of distraction evident in his tone. But Emma sensed there was more to it than that. Would Julian's other commitments mean he couldn't fully lead this effort? That tension sparked an unsettling thought in her mind. How much of his attention would she realistically have? And was she ready to confront the unknown? As they stood to leave, Julian turned to her. You're onto something, Emma. Let us set up a follow-up meeting soon. I think we can make this work. Emma nodded, determination flooding her veins. But just beneath it, a question churned within her. What if she couldn't keep pace with the ambitions that were suddenly looming in front of her? As she stepped out into the brisk air, her mind raced with possibilities and fears. The shadows of doubt lurked, but the glimmer of hope remained. She could feel a turning point approaching, yet something uncertain hung over her. Would she rise to meet the challenge of not just supporting a community, but also seizing the journey for herself? Tomorrow would bring clarity, or perhaps it would force her to confront the deeply rooted fears of inadequacy she had long tried to escape. Emma's pulse quickened as she stepped back into the uncertain embrace of her journey. Emma stood outside, letting the cold air wash over her. A wake-up call to a racing mind. She took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of impending autumn, the leaves just starting their slow transition into hues of orange and gold. The world around her moved with its usual clamor, yet she felt as if she were standing at the edge of something monumental, teetering on the brink of self-discovery. She had secured Julian's interest, but the thought of possible rejection lingered in her mind. What if she couldn't deliver? The notion of failure was both a phantom haunting her and a catalyst pushing her forward. She resolved to seek clarity, to confront her fears rather than let them dictate her path. At home, Emma set her notebook on her kitchen table, flipping through the pages filled with information she'd accrued. Her heart raced as she cataloged the stories of families she had interviewed, the intense hardships that left imprints on their lives. They were not just anecdotes, they were lives needing representation, a reason for her mission, but alongside the weight of responsibility, a nagging thought provoked her introspection. Was she ready for the scrutiny that would likely accompany her endeavor? Did she have what it takes to lead others through the labyrinth of bureaucracy and funding? The self-doubt twisted in her stomach, blending into a knot of fear and determination. That night, she crafted a detailed breakdown of potential collaborators and resources to explore. Each name sparked a faint glimmer of hope, reassuring her that she was not alone in this. She jotted down possible community leaders, passionate advocates, and local organizations that might see the value in her vision. But with each item, a new weight burdened her heart. She wasn't a seasoned professional. She was still an outsider yearning for advocacy. The following day, Emma reached out to the first prospective collaborator, a local nonprofit director known for her spirited commitment to community issues. The phone call was a delicate balance, her voice quavering with uncertainty, yet steadfast in purpose. When she explained her ideas and the stories she had gathered, a sense of empowerment surged within her. "You have a lot of heart, Emma," said Michelle, the director. "But be prepared. Navigating these waters requires resilience and building trust within the community. You might face skepticism, and not everyone will come around at first." Emma clenched the phone tighter. "I understand," she replied, the stabbing fear of inadequacy resurfacing. "But I believe that genuine engagement can open doors. If people see their stories reflected in what we create, isn't that a step toward change?" "Absolutely," Michelle affirmed, a hint of enthusiasm coloring her tone. "We can schedule a meeting and see how we might collaborate. Let us see what we can build together." After hanging up, a wave of triumph washed over Emma. The fog of doubt began to lift slightly, revealing a clearer path ahead. Yet, she knew this was merely the first hurdle. Every small victory meant there were still larger climbs awaiting her as she met with Michelle and discussed potential outreach strategies that would resonate with families. Doubt nipped at her heels again. Their conversation flowed with energy but felt tainted by her internal reservations. Would this collaboration bloom or would it falter, leading to further embarrassment? In the midst of their discussion, Emma noticed a recurring theme within herself: the compulsion to seek validation from others rather than trusting her instincts. She had built a facade of confidence to muddle through the meetings, yet behind lauded achievements loomed deep-rooted fears of failure that crept back. "Emma, it's clear you're passionate. Use that passion as your compass," Michelle advised later, her voice resonating with wisdom. "Listen to your gut throughout this process. It may steer you clearer than any metrics you chase." It struck a chord in Emma. She realized that if she continued to position herself as merely an imposter, she would never break free from that cycle. Her passion was not misplaced, it was her strongest weapon. Tomorrow, she would do more than reach out to potential partners. She would actively define and own her narrative. With determination igniting within her, she prepared to step into her next challenge. A presentation at the local business chamber that involved some of the city's most influential figures. This was her chance not only to showcase her vision but to redefine how she viewed herself, no longer as an outsider but as a spirited advocate deserving of a seat at the table. As she gathered her notes for the pitch, anticipation coursed through her veins. But she would need to confront a defining question. Could she embrace authenticity amidst the pressure of expectation? The moment was approaching, and she would soon discover if she could overcome the final threshold of her own self-doubt. What lay beyond that door? Emma felt a thrill of both fear and excitement build within her, readying herself for a pivotal moment in her journey toward becoming the leader she was destined to be. Emma stood backstage, her hands clammy against her carefully organized notes. The echo of chatter from the audience filtered through the heavy curtain, mingling with the palpable tension that gripped her. This was not just a presentation, it was a test of her own resolve. She could hear snippets of conversations, men in tailored suits and women who moved with purpose, discussing investments, social impact, and partnerships. In that moment, she felt like a loose thread against a tapestry of wealth and power. What had she been thinking, putting herself in a position to compete for attention and support from such esteemed figures? Doubt crept in again, coiling tightly around her confidence. As flashes of self-deprecating thoughts sparked, "You're not experienced enough. You don't belong here." She shook her head as if trying to dislodge the negativity. It was time to reclaim her narrative. Those words had been whispers of her past, not her current reality. She thought back to Michelle's encouragement, shoring herself up with the reminder of her passion. Taking a deep breath, she walked past the curtain and onto the stage. Instantly, bright lights blinded her momentarily, but she could feel the eyes of the audience pinning her down as she approached the microphone. She shifted her grip on the notes, and for a brief moment, the suffocating weight of self-doubt dissipated. This was her moment to ignite change. If she could not do that, then everything she had worked for would fade into obscurity. With determination, she began to speak. Her voice, shaky at first, grew steadier as she unraveled her vision. She painted vivid images of the families she had interviewed, their struggles, their resilience, and ultimately, their hopes. She spoke about the stories not just as statistics, but as human experiences yearning for acknowledgement. As she unfolded her plan for a project that could bridge the gap between underserved families and potential investors, the room's energy shifted. Emma witnessed the flickers of interest among the audience members' expressions, and that flicker fueled her resolve. But as she reached the crescendo of her pitch, a familiar face caught her attention. Julian, seated near the front, interest gleaming in his eyes. This connection grounded her, reminding her that the stakes were more than about funding. They were about genuine human lives yearning for partnership and understanding. Engagement begins with empathy, she declared, her voice resonating with conviction. Understanding where we come from is key to shaping the future we want for families who deserve more than just a chance. They deserve belief. In the silence that followed, she could sense the room holding its collective breath. And then it came, a soft but firm clap, followed by others, building into a wave of applause that cascaded through the audience. It filled her with a rush of exhilaration, awakening something within her that she had feared was dormant. As she stepped down from the stage, heart racing and cheeks flushed, she was met with an unexpected figure, an older woman with a powerful aura, Julian's mother. A knowing smile graced her face and she extended a hand, illuminating the space around them. I admired your authenticity, Emma. You have a rare gift, she stated, the warmth in her voice dispelling the chill of earlier moments. Emma felt a glimmer of hope in that encounter, but then it shifted under the weight of unexpected scrutiny. Julian approached, his expression a mix of pride and concern. You were amazing out there, but he began, and her heart sank. Is there a but? She pressed, anticipating the dive into her potential shortcomings. Just remember, authenticity can be challenging to maintain when faced with expectations, he cautioned, his intent shrouded in genuine support, but laced with history she couldn't ignore. She looked at him, holding his gaze. And I can't afford to lose myself, can I? The undercurrent of tension between them stirred something deeper, awakening questions Emma had just started to scratch the surface of. Could she sustain this bold authenticity in the face of obstacles and judgment? With a newfound determination, she recalled her goal not merely to gain acceptance, but to make a tangible difference. It was time to prepare for the next stage of this journey. Yet in that single moment, Emma realized that while she faced external hurdles, the most profound challenges lay within her own evolving identity. As the evening unfolded, intrigue and uncertainty coiled around her future like a double-edged sword. What would it take for her to truly embrace her role, even when facing the shadows of self-doubt and external expectations? Emma wondered if the true test of her evolution was just beginning. Emma awoke the next morning, the sunlight pouring through her curtains illuminating the swirling thoughts still racing within her mind. Last night had been exhilarating, a blend of adrenaline and anxiety, etched into her memory. She felt as though she stood at the precipice of something monumental, but what exactly lingered just out of reach? Sitting at her kitchen table, she pored over her notes again. The fresh ink of her ideas shimmered with promise, but self-doubt began its assault once more. What if Julian was right? What if the world she was stepping into demanded more from her than authenticity? She jotted down her goals, attempting to quell the storm inside. How could she nurture her vision without losing herself? She made coffee, the rich aroma seeping through her senses, grounding her in the familiar rhythm of her morning. Emma knew that the real work had only just begun. She needed to transform the buzz of applause into actionable steps, strategies that would push her project from vision to reality. But with every bold thought, another voice crept in, one laden with memories of criticism and defeat. After the caffeine kicked in, Emma found herself at her laptop, drafting emails and connecting with potential supporters. She reached out to the foundation of a fellow presenter at the gathering, hoping to draw on their experience or mentorship. Each click, each message sent, was a small act of defiance against her lingering insecurities. That evening, she focused on expanding her pitch further, realizing that numbers and facts could provide the logic backing her emotional appeal. So she sought out statistics that showcased the stark disparities in resources for families like those she had met. The spreadsheets and pie charts became allies, fortifying her narrative and silencing the inner critic. Just as she felt momentum building, an unexpected opportunity arose. Julian called. "I walked by your presentation notes this morning," he started, his tone playful. "Are you going to give that pitch again?" Her heart quickened. "Possibly," she replied, unsure whether to view his interest as encouraging or intrusive. "You know, my mother is hosting a small breakfast meeting with some local investors next week." Something in his voice felt purposeful. Challenges flickered like distant stars behind his words. "Are you suggesting I pitch again?" Emma asked, eyebrows raised. "Exactly," he replied, confidence rising in him, perhaps in a bid to spark her own. "They're looking for genuine projects and you might just have what they need." Emma considered the request. Was she truly ready to walk into another room of scrutinizing eyes? This time, could she navigate both the internal and external expectations with grace? "Julian, the last thing I want is to be seen as a charity case or just an extension of my association with you," she admitted, the vulnerability in her voice dissecting the surface of their conversation. "It's not like that," he urged, his voice growing steady. "They want people who are passionate about what they do. You showed them that. Just be yourself." The knot in Emma's stomach tightened. Failure loomed larger than before. But something deeper, the hope of truly making a difference, began to outweigh it. After the call, Emma fished for pen and paper, jotting down a list of all that she needed to prepare. Clear messaging, statistics that told her story, and most importantly, a deep-seated sense of purpose. Success was not merely in the pitch, it was in the impact she could carve into lives. As she prepared, she felt an urgency to confront not only the expectations of potential investors, but also her own hesitations. She had opened up to vulnerability on stage. The challenge now was to transform that authenticity into strength, even in the face of the financially motivated elite. This next pitch could redefine her path, but with every step taken, her palms grew sweatier and her heart drummed faster. What if this chance was not just about external validation, but also about an essential confrontation with herself? She could sense the past and future blending into this pivotal moment, yet could she force herself to fully grasp the potential of who she could become? The clock ticked, and time danced toward the impending breakfast. Would she walk in as a fearless advocate or retreat into the shadows of uncertainty? Emma felt the growing weight of an inevitable confrontation on her horizon. Emma stood in front of her mirror, the crisp collar of her blouse framing her reflection. She leaned in, inspecting the determination in her eyes, a stark contrast to the unease churning in her stomach. This moment felt as heightened as a tightrope walk. One misstep could plunge her into despair. As she gathered her materials, polished notes, statistics, and heartfelt anecdotes, the very weight of them felt both liberating and suffocating. With each item she placed in her bag, Emma contemplated the significance of her presentation beyond the walls of the breakfast meeting. This was an invitation not just to pitch, but to shed expectations as she transformed doubt into a narrative woven from truth and passion. Crossing the threshold into the breakfast venue ignited a rush of anxiety. The room radiated an air of wealth and expectation, a stark reminder of the gulf between her aspirations and the lives of those gathered. Each carefully tailored suit and designer accessory felt like a silent gauge of her worthiness. Were they simply curious patrons or critical judges measuring her substance beneath a veneer of politeness? As the clock struck 8, the round tables buzzed with conversations that danced together, a ballet of privilege and ambition. Julian spotted her and waved, gesturing her toward a seat. It felt strangely reassuring. Yet she knew she couldn't rely on anyone else to carry her message. This was her moment to own when the host, a poised woman with an air of authority, announced Emma's name. It felt as if she'd stepped onto a stage, the spotlight rapidly shifting to her. Heart racing, Emma stood, drawing a deep breath. The first word struggled to depart her lips. She wrestled with the instinct to retreat, to shrink into the shadows of self-doubt, but the realization that her story mattered propelled her forward. "Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity," she began, her voice steadying as she articulated her project. The statistics flowed, each number highlighting the urgent disparities she had witnessed. With it, she folded in her personal connection to the cause, expressing the emotional weight behind her purpose. The room began to shift. She saw nods, eyes widening in recognition. With each sentence, doubt trickled away, leaving conviction in its place. But just as she highlighted the significance of investment in her project, a question pricked the air, sharp and demanding. "Is this a passion project? Or do you see it as a viable business?" A male voice interjected, arms crossed and brow furrowed. Emma's stomach dropped at the implications behind the inquiry. "I see it as both," she replied, a spark igniting within her. "It's not merely about charity. This is a sustainable approach that bridges gaps while creating opportunities. The metrics can speak for themselves, but I believe in the change we can initiate together." The immediate ripple of murmurs following her words was a blend of intrigue and skepticism, a rhythmic dance of financial pragmatism engaged in a waltz with her heartfelt narrative. Emma took a breath, striving to maintain the balance, a precarious tightrope that, if navigated well, might just sway the room. As the dialogue ensued, she felt something within her cementing. She wasn't merely pitching ideas to investors. She was challenging them to engage with a vision that intertwined human connection with economic reality. As the meeting wore on, Julian offered small gestures of support, a nod here, an encouraging smile there. Emma took this subtle reinforcement and maneuvered it like a shield, her own confidence now charged. But just as she began to relish in the openness, someone caught her off guard. "Your presentation was impressive," said a woman with sharp features and an equally piercing gaze. "But tell me, what motivates you beyond the numbers?" Emma paused. How could she express the rawness behind her drive? How vulnerability could be her greatest strength? The room fell quiet. Their anticipation was palpable. She took a moment, collecting her thoughts, and focused on the faces before her. Faces that could either carry her vision forward or let it wither into obscurity. "I am motivated by the children whose voices often go unheard," she finally answered, the words feeling both exposed and liberating. "Their potential echoes throughout our system, yet it often remains dormant due to circumstances beyond their control. That's why I am here, not just for funding, but to ignite a movement of awareness." The room erupted with murmurs, this time more animated, reflective. Emma seized the momentum. She hadn't just found her footing. She had sparked a conversation that mattered. As the breakfast closed, a palpable shift ensued in Emma's self-perception. For the first time, she felt the transformative power of her voice. Perhaps she could indeed navigate these waters without losing herself. Yet, moments later, the woman approached, presenting an intriguing proposition that instantly sent waves of uncertainty crashing through Emma once more. Would this be an opportunity or just another unwelcome complication? The invitation to further discuss details loomed before her, the weight of the decision pressing upon her. Could she brace herself for what that might entail? Emma pondered if she truly understood the depths of what she was committing to. Emma's heart hammered in her chest as the woman approached her, the clinking of her heels echoing against the polished floor. She extended a hand, introducing herself with an air of confidence that almost intimidated Emma. "I'm Miranda Sterling. You presented an inspiring vision today." "Thank you," Emma replied, forcing a smile while grappling with her swirling thoughts. How did someone like Miranda, exuding wealth and prestige, connect with someone like her, a woman with a mission, but also a heap of insecurities? "I would love to discuss further," Miranda continued, her eyes sharp and inquisitive. "Have you thought about how this can expand? I believe it has the potential to be significant beyond what you initially envisioned." "Expansion?" Emma echoed, the word tasting foreign on her tongue. She had thought of their project as a path to change, not a venture fraught with scaling challenges. Could she really navigate those unknown waters? "Yes, let us grab coffee sometime. I know some investors who might be interested," Miranda said breezily, oblivious to Emma's apprehension. With an outstretched hand, she offered the first step towards unforeseen opportunities. Emma hesitated, a million questions colliding in her mind. Felt too easy, perhaps even too perfect. "I'd have to think about it," she instinctively replied, fearing that saying yes might entail commitments far greater than she was prepared to handle at that moment. Miranda raised an eyebrow, a mixture of surprise and curiosity. You deserve to seize the moment. Don't let uncertainty paralyze your potential. Emma's throat tightened as Miranda's words resonated deep within her. Was she allowing her anxieties to overshadow her aspirations? That's true, Emma murmured half to herself. She envisioned the children whose futures were entwined with her project, and felt a swell of determination. If she had the chance to indeed expand beyond her initial vision, wasn't it worth the risk? Miranda's keen gaze never wavered. Why don't we exchange numbers? I promise it won't be like a typical business meeting. More a conversation between two women with a shared passion for impact. Emma's mind raced. Could this be the moment she had hoped for? Or was it merely the beginning of the end? The thought of emerging from her cocoon of anxiety into a realm of potential exhilarated her. Yet the fear of underestimating the weight of responsibility loomed like a storm cloud. "Okay," she finally said, her voice steadier. "Let us do that." They exchanged numbers and Miranda's smile hinted at a burden lifted. As if she had seen in Emma the promise of what could be. As the breakfast venue emptied out, Emma felt a shift within her. She'd taken a step off the tightrope, propelled not just by her resolve, but by an unexpected alliance. Perhaps this was more than an offer, it was a challenge to redefine her limits. The following days drifted by in a haze of anticipation and preparation. Emma meticulously documented her thoughts, refining her project, gathering insights. Her mind was filled with scenarios of the coffee meeting that loomed ahead, each painting a different picture of what could transpire. But it was the thought of her own emotional readiness that intrigued her most. Could she open herself up to this kind of collaboration, knowing it might come at the cost of scrutinizing the reality of her own motivations? When the day arrived to meet Miranda, Emma dressed with intention, knowing she needed to present not just her project but her very self. As she entered the upscale cafe, the scent of freshly brewed espresso enveloped her like an embrace. Miranda was already there, sipping a latte, her demeanor as inviting as it was imposing. Emma felt a rush of adrenaline. "Thank you for coming," Miranda said, her tone warm yet probing. "I see so much potential in you. Not just in your project but in who you are. Tell me, how do we connect your vision with tangible success?" Emma blinked, the weight of the moment landing heavily upon her. For once, she had the chance to spell out not just her professional ambitions but her personal aspirations as well. What if this was more than just a meeting? What if this was the moment she transformed not only opportunities but also herself? "Let us define success together," Emma said, feeling her voice strengthen. "But first I need to understand one thing. Are you willing to truly invest in this vision, not just financially, but emotionally as well?" The air hung thick with tension, every word stripping away layers of pretense. As Miranda's expression shifted, Emma sensed the gravity of her question resonating beyond the confines of the cafe. Emma had opened a door, and it felt exhilarating and precarious all at once. What lay on the other side? The moment of truth was clicking closer. Emma embraced the challenge that lay ahead, her resolve solidifying as she prepared to wield her authenticity as the sword against the suffocating clouds of doubt. In the days following her meeting with Miranda, realization dawned upon her. She was no longer merely a nursing assistant burdened by her mother's care or consumed by financial woes. She had harnessed her voice and crafted a vision worthy of pursuit. Her days morphed into a cascade of activity as Emma began mapping out her community healthcare program with renewed vigor. She meticulously outlined a strategy leveraging input from families, local organizations, and influential leaders cued into her intentions. Inspired, she aimed not just to raise funds, but to build a sustainable initiative that cultivated ownership and engagement in the community. The clarity of her vision crystallized through late nights spent sketching her ideas and early mornings conducting interviews with community members. Emma no longer feared facing external scrutiny. Instead, she embraced the opportunity to demonstrate her commitment to a cause that resonated deeply within her. Each conversation solidified her resolve, revealing the strength woven through the tapestry of shared experiences. When she finally sat across from Miranda again to discuss the framework, Emma radiated confidence as she presented her refined proposal. Every number, every story flowed from her as if she were recounting her own journey. Miranda's eyes glinted with interest and respect, the initial apprehension from their first meeting replaced by admiration and a palpable sense of shared vision. "This is more than a project," Emma Miranda said, excitement tinging her voice. "It's a movement that can impact lives significantly. We need to position your narrative at the forefront." Emma's heart surged with validation. The invisible chains of self-doubt shattered. As they discussed partnerships, marketing strategies, and funding opportunities, she felt her confidence solidify. Gone was the girl who felt inadequate. In her place stood a capable leader poised to drive change. The breakthrough solidified during an engaging brainstorming session with Julian. Their chemistry remained undeniable, but it was clear that his role was now as a supportive ally rather than a crutch. Emma articulated her vision with enthusiasm, showcasing the potential impact they could cultivate together. Julian's eyes sparkled with belief, and she knew that he was no longer a symbol of the formidable divide between social circles, but rather a collaborator in her mission. Months passed, and not only did conversations transform into initiatives, but Emma's growth was palpable. She learned to navigate the complexities of grant applications, partner with vibrant advocates, and communicate with conviction. Each successful step prompted applause not only from her growing team but reflected in the gratitude of families embraced by the healthcare access they once lacked. The decisive moment came on the launch day of her community healthcare program. Emma stood, flanked by community partners and local leaders, ready to unveil something she once deemed a far-fetched dream. Families gathered, eyes wide with anticipation, as she stepped to the podium. She felt an electric pulse behind her, fueled by months of effort, authentic connection, and unwavering belief. "Today we are not here just to talk about statistics or funding," Emma began, her voice ringing with strength. "Today we begin a chapter where honesty meets empathy, and each voice matters." Applause erupted, but it wasn't just for her eloquence. It was a celebration of shared struggle and collaboration. Families no longer felt alone. They were interconnected by a rippling hope that Emma had fostered through her resilience. When the first family stepped forward to share their stories of transformation and impact, each life breathed a sense of fulfillment into her spirit. Emma stood back, witnessing others redefine their narratives, and in that moment, she recognized the profound weight of her accomplishment. This was her essence realized. Beyond the program's success loomed the acknowledgement of who she had become, someone whose heart beat for change, leading with integrity and depth. Emma Prescott no longer stood at the periphery of an unfamiliar world. She had carved her niche, galvanizing community support and creating a legacy of compassion. As the sun set on a successful launch day, Julian approached Emma, his face a mixture of pride and camaraderie. "Look at what you've done," he said, awe glistening in his eyes. "You turned vulnerability into strength, and you showed so many that change is possible." Emma transformed her once tender hope of building a community resource into an unwavering reality. She stood tall, radiating confidence from every learning moment, and stoked her determination to keep pushing forward. She had achieved what had once seemed insurmountable, a community embracing vulnerability to drive real change. Each journey taken was not merely a step forward but an evolution that broadened her understanding of herself, and in that understanding lay a deeper commitment to her mission. Emma truly had proven that she was more than capable. She was a visionary. You need to subscribe now to witness the next powerful journeys of personal transformation. Don't wait even one more second to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm's hunger for inspiring stories. Comment your reactions and theories about Emma's incredible evolution, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this concluding triumph.